Tom wiped the last streak of grease from the floor of the McDonald's kitchen. The night was quiet, except for the soft hum of the neon sign outside. Most customers had left hours ago, leaving the restaurant empty and dimly lit. He yawned and grabbed his mop, ready to finish his shift and go home. As he pushed the mop bucket toward the door, he heard a faint sound, a soft whimper, coming from behind the dumpsters outside. Tom frowned. He had lived in the city all his life, and he knew most stray animals avoided humans at night. Curious, he stepped outside, careful not to slip on the wet pavement. The sound came again, softer this time, almost like a tiny cry. He peeked around the dumpster and froze. Huddled in the shadows was a small creature, unlike anything he had ever seen. Its body was about the size of a large cat, but it was covered in tiny shiny scales that shimmered under the dim streetlights. Its eyes were large and golden, filled with fear and hunger. The little creature's wings were folded against its back, too small to fly yet, and it trembled as it tried to curl into itself. Tom's heart went out to it. "Hey there, are you okay?" he whispered. The creature tilted its head, staring at him with cautious curiosity. Tom noticed its small mouth open slightly and he realized it was weak. It hadn't eaten in a long time. He looked at the dumpster and then at the leftovers he had been about to throw away, some cold fries, a small burger, and a half-empty soda cup. Without thinking, Tom knelt and placed the food on the ground. "Here, maybe this will help," he said. The creature sniffed the food, then hesitated. Its golden eyes met Tom's as if asking for permission. Tom nodded, smiling gently. Slowly, the creature crawled closer and began nibbling at the fries. Tom watched, fascinated, as it licked the soda with a small, rough tongue. The creature's scales glimmered faintly with each movement, and its small claws made tiny scratches in the concrete. Tom had never seen anything like it. "What are you?" he murmured. But the creature did not answer. Of course it couldn't. Yet, in its eyes, Tom felt a spark of intelligence, almost like it understood him. For the next few minutes, Tom simply sat there, watching the little creature eat. He felt a strange connection, as if they were both alone in the city, sharing a quiet moment. He gently reached out his hand and the creature sniffed it. It didn't back away. Instead, it pressed its tiny head against his palm, making a soft, happy sound. Tom laughed quietly. "Well, I guess you like me," he said. Tom realized he couldn't just leave the creature there. It was too small, too weak, and the streets of the city were dangerous at night. "Come on," he said softly. "I'll find a safe place for you." Carefully, he scooped the creature into his arms. It felt surprisingly warm, its tiny body trembling slightly but relaxed enough to trust him. Tom wrapped it in his jacket and carried it inside the McDonald's, closing the door behind him. Inside, Tom set the creature down on a stack of clean towels behind the counter. It sniffed the new surroundings, still cautious but calmer. Tom looked at it closely. Its small wings were folded neatly and its tail twitched slowly. Its scales reflected the fluorescent lights in shades of blue and green. Tom's mind raced. Could it be a lizard? A rare exotic pet? He had no idea. He decided to give it more food. He found some leftover chicken nuggets and fries, placing them carefully on a tray. The creature devoured them eagerly, making small chirping noises. Tom laughed, shaking his head. "You're hungry, huh? You must have been lost for a long time." He watched it eat, amazed by its quick movements and strange yet gentle behavior. Hours passed and Tom kept an eye on the little creature. He realized it had a kind of intelligence he had never seen in an animal. It followed his movements with its golden eyes, sometimes mimicking his gestures in tiny ways. Tom spoke softly to it, telling stories about his day, and the creature listened, tilting its head as if it understood some of the words. Finally, Tom leaned back, exhausted but happy. "I don't know who you are or where you came from," he said, "but I'm going to take care of you." The little creature blinked slowly, almost as if it understood, and curled up beside him on the towels. Its tiny body glowed faintly, like the soft light of a candle. Tom felt a sense of wonder and responsibility. He had never expected to meet a dragon, or something like it, behind a McDonald's dumpster on a quiet night. As he finally rested, he didn't know that far away in a palace beyond the stars, a powerful emperor was searching desperately for his lost son. And the small creature in Tom's arms was no ordinary hatchling, it was the heir of a dragon empire, saved by a simple act of kindness. Tom drifted off to sleep with the creature beside him, unaware that his life was about to change forever. The next morning, Tom woke up to a quiet restaurant. The early sun shone through the windows, painting the floor with soft golden light. Beside him, the little creature, which he now called Ember, stirred and stretched its tiny wings. It blinked at him with those same golden eyes, full of curiosity and intelligence. Tom smiled. "Good morning, Ember. Did you sleep well?" Ember chirped softly, almost like it was answering. Tom laughed quietly. He carefully lifted the tiny dragon and placed it on the counter, making sure it had enough food and water. The restaurant was still empty, and Tom had the chance to observe Ember more closely. He noticed something remarkable. The little dragon seemed to understand him. When he moved a napkin or pointed to the food, Ember followed the gesture without hesitation. As the morning passed, Tom began to feel a connection with Ember. It was not just a pet, it was more intelligent than any animal he had ever known. It seemed to watch him, learning from his movements and gestures. When Tom cleaned the tables, Ember mimicked him, batting at crumbs with its small claws. When Tom laughed, Ember made soft chirping sounds almost like it was joining in. Tom realized that Ember was not a normal creature. He remembered the glowing scales, the wings, and the sharp but gentle claws. He remembered how the little dragon had eaten so eagerly but carefully, as if it understood what was safe. He began to suspect that Ember might be something extraordinary. Meanwhile, far away in a palace that floated among the stars, the Dragon Emperor was in turmoil. His son, the young heir of the Dragon Empire, had disappeared during a travel mission between planets. The Emperor's golden scales gleamed as he paced the great hall. "Where is my son?" he demanded in a low, rumbling voice. The Council of Dragon Elders shook with fear and bowed. "Your Majesty, we are searching every sector of the galaxy," one elder said. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Time is running out. He is too young to survive alone. Send the scouts. I want every planet searched, every world visited." Across the galaxy, specialized scout ships took off, their engines humming through the vacuum of space. Unbeknownst to them, the young hatchling had already found safety on a planet they would not expect, Earth. Back in the city, Tom continued his quiet routine with Ember. Days passed and Ember grew stronger. Its scales became brighter, reflecting colors that seemed impossible in the dim light of the restaurant. Its wings stretched wider, though it still could not fly. The little dragon learned quickly. Tom noticed that Ember could open small doors, recognize objects, and even anticipate his movements. One evening, as Tom refilled the drink machine, Ember nudged a cup of soda with its nose, spilling a few drops. Tom chuckled. "Careful, Ember. You're making a mess." Ember chirped in what sounded like laughter, then carefully wiped its nose with a tiny claw. Tom stared, amazed. "You really are smart, aren't you?" Tom decided to teach Ember simple words. He pointed to objects, a mop, a tray, a cup, and said their names. Ember listened, then repeated small sounds that resembled the words. Tom laughed, feeling proud. "You're learning fast. Maybe faster than me sometimes." Ember responded with soft chirps, tilting its head as if agreeing. At night, Tom would sit behind the counter while Ember curled beside him. He told Ember stories about his life, about the city, about people he had known. Ember listened intently, occasionally looking around as if trying to imagine the things Tom described. Tom felt a strange comfort in the dragon's presence. He realized he was not just caring for Ember. Ember was teaching him patience, empathy, and hope. One night, as they sat together, Ember's eyes glowed brighter than usual. A faint warmth radiated from its tiny body, touching Tom's hands. Tom gasped. What's happening?" he whispered. Ember chirped softly and leaned closer, nuzzling his hand. Tom realized that Ember was showing trust, a bond deeper than any he had ever felt with a living creature. That night, Tom slept with Ember curled at his side. In his dreams, he saw flashes of stars, distant planets, and dragons flying through cosmic skies. He woke with a start, realizing that Ember was more than just a creature. Ember was extraordinary, a being connected to a universe far beyond Earth. Tom did not know it yet, but far across the galaxy, the Dragon Emperor's scouts had picked up a faint energy signal. It was small, almost invisible, but unmistakably powerful. The young dragon's life force was strong, filled with potential. The Emperor himself sensed it, a ripple through his thoughts. His son had survived, and the presence of a human, someone kind enough to feed him, was influencing his growth in ways the Emperor could not yet understand. Tom continued his quiet life, going to work, cleaning the restaurant, and feeding Ember. But each day he noticed new signs of the dragon's intelligence, new displays of understanding and connection. The little creature had chosen him, and he had chosen it. Together they shared something rare, a bond between species, a silent promise of loyalty, care, and trust. Unaware of the Emperor's distant attention, Tom smiled as Ember perched on the counter, golden eyes gleaming. "You're safe here, Ember. I won't let anything happen to you. Ember chirped softly in reply, curling its tiny tail around Tom's wrist. And for the first time in his simple, quiet life, Tom felt that he was part of something bigger, something extraordinary. Days passed and life in the McDonald's settled into a quiet rhythm, but things were slowly changing. Tom noticed small but unusual events happening around Ember. One evening, as he mopped the floor near the soda machine, the little dragon climbed onto the counter and looked at him with its golden eyes. Suddenly, the machine rattled on its own, and a cup tilted, spilling soda across the floor. Tom jumped back in surprise. What was that?" he whispered. Ember chirped softly, tilting its head, and then, as if trying to explain, nudged the cup back into place. Tom blinked. Could the dragon have caused that? He shook his head. It must be a coincidence, he told himself. But then the lights flickered, just for a second, and the fry machine beeped in a strange rhythm. Tom's heart raced. He had never seen anything like this before. Ember hopped down and brushed against Tom's leg. He looked into the dragon's eyes and noticed something extraordinary. The golden eyes seemed to glow faintly, almost like tiny stars inside them. Tom realized he had never really looked at Ember closely enough. Those eyes were intelligent, powerful, and full of emotion. He reached out slowly and Ember leaned into his hand, purring softly. The next day Tom experimented. He placed a small paper cup on the counter and stepped back. Ember looked at it, then nudged it with its tiny nose. To Tom's shock, the cup floated a few inches in the air before gently landing back on the counter. Tom's jaw dropped. You can control things," he said in disbelief. Ember chirped proudly, flapping its tiny wings, and then curled up on a stack of towels as if nothing had happened. Tom spent hours watching Ember. Every day the dragon showed more unusual abilities. It could lift small objects, open doors, and even adjust simple mechanisms. Tom began to realize that Ember was not only intelligent but also had a kind of power he could not explain. He tried to stay calm, but excitement bubbled inside him. He was caring for something truly extraordinary, something that belonged to a world far beyond his own. Word of strange happenings in the McDonald's began to spread online. Videos of small objects moving mysteriously and lights flickering went viral. People whispered about ghosts or magic, but Tom knew the truth. He had Ember, and Ember was alive in ways no one could understand. One quiet night, Tom sat behind the counter with Ember on his lap. "You know, Ember," he said softly, "I don't know where you came from or what you are, but I'm glad you found me." Ember chirped and nuzzled his hand, glowing faintly in the dark. Tom laughed quietly, feeling a mix of wonder and responsibility. "You're going to need more than fries and soda soon. We need to figure out how to help you grow stronger." Tom decided to give Ember a small bath, using warm water and soft cloths. Ember seemed to enjoy it, splashing gently and making soft, happy sounds. As Tom dried the little dragon, he noticed something even stranger. Ember's scales shimmered in shifting colors, blue, green, and gold, changing with its mood or energy. Tom's mind raced. He realized that Ember was more than just a lost hatchling. Ember was powerful, and he had no idea how far that power could go. That night, a faint tremor shook the building. Tom looked around nervously, but Ember seemed calm. In fact, the little dragon climbed onto the counter and glowed brighter than ever before. Tom's jaw dropped. A small stack of cups lifted slowly into the air, circling around Ember as if drawn to its energy. Tom stepped back, unsure whether to be afraid or amazed. Ember chirped happily and twirled, clearly enjoying itself. Tom realized he had to be careful. If anyone saw Ember like this, people might panic, or worse. He needed to protect his friend. He whispered, "We'll figure this out together, Ember. But we have to stay hidden for now." Ember chirped and curled up beside him, its tiny body still glowing softly, like a lantern in the dark. At the same time, far across the galaxy, the Dragon Emperor's scouts were closing in. They had detected the young hatchling's energy signature on a small, distant planet, Earth. The Emperor's eyes glimmered as he realized his son was alive and growing stronger. He sensed the human's influence on the dragon. Someone on this planet had helped his son survive. Someone kind. Back in the city, Tom continued to observe Ember's abilities. Each day, the dragon seemed to learn faster, understand more, and even anticipate Tom's actions. It was almost like they shared a silent language, a bond that needed no words. Tom marveled at the little dragon, realizing that his life would never be the same. Ember was no ordinary creature. Ember was extraordinary, and somehow, Tom had become part of something far bigger than himself. That night, Tom sat quietly in the empty restaurant, Ember glowing softly on his lap. He whispered, "You're safe with me, Ember. I don't know what the future holds, but we'll face it together. Ember chirped in agreement, nuzzling his hand. And somewhere across the stars, the Dragon Emperor sensed the growing power of his son, unaware that a humble janitor had become the dragon hatchling's first friend and protector. It was a quiet night at the McDonald's, just like many others, but Tom sensed that something was different. Ember had been restless all evening, pacing the counter and letting out soft chirps. The little dragon's scales glimmered brighter than usual, shining gold and green in the dim light. Tom frowned. "What's wrong, Ember? Are you scared?" Ember tilted its head and let out a low, excited chirp, then flapped its tiny wings toward the window. Tom followed Ember's gaze and froze. Above the city, a strange light moved through the sky. It was not an airplane or a helicopter. The glow was golden, pulsating like the heartbeat of a living star. The light descended rapidly, and before Tom could react, a shadow blocked the streetlights outside. His heart raced. What is that?" he whispered. Ember chirped again, climbing onto the counter and puffing itself up slightly. The light grew brighter, and a large, metallic shape landed in the park across the street. The ground shook faintly from the weight of the craft. Tom's eyes widened as a door opened in the side of the ship. A figure emerged. It was massive, towering over the trees and streetlights. Its scales shimmered like molten gold, and its eyes glowed with intelligence and power. Tom felt a strange warmth and fear at the same time. Ember let out a series of high-pitched chirps, running to the edge of the counter. The giant figure moved closer, but not aggressively. Its gaze was fixed on Ember. Tom took a cautious step forward. Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling. The figure spoke, not with words but with thoughts that entered Tom's mind directly. "You have fed my son," the voice said. It was deep, calm, and filled with authority. Tom froze, unable to speak. "Your son? Ember?" he stammered. Ember chirped happily and nudged Tom's hand, as if confirming what the being said. The figure bent slightly, lowering its massive head to look at Ember. "He is alive because of you, human," the voice continued. "You saved him when the universe itself had forgotten. I am the Dragon Emperor. And you are extraordinary." Tom could hardly believe it. A Dragon Emperor? His mind struggled to accept what he was seeing. He looked down at Ember, who chirped softly and curled up against him. I just fed him. That's all," Tom whispered. "I didn't know he was royalty." The Emperor's golden eyes seemed to smile, though the scale of its face was intimidating. The Emperor extended a clawed hand. Tom stepped back instinctively, but the giant being lowered its arm, not to strike, but to gesture toward him. "Your kindness has saved my heir," the Emperor said. "The universe will remember this day. I offer you a choice. You may come with us to learn to see worlds beyond your own. Or you may stay as a protector and friend to my son on this planet. The choice is yours." Tom swallowed hard. He had always dreamed of adventure, but nothing like this. Stars, dragons, and intergalactic empires were stories, not his life. And yet, here it was, offered to him in real life. He looked at Ember, whose golden eyes shone with trust and affection. I think I should stay," he said finally. "I belong here. But I promise to protect him." The Emperor nodded, a faint vibration passing through the air like a soft rumble. "Very well," the Emperor said. "You are brave and wise, human. A rare combination. You shall have my trust and the power to call upon him when needed." The Emperor reached into a satchel on its back and produced a small, glowing scale. It floated gently into Tom's hands. The scale shimmered like gold, warm to the touch. Tom gasped. "This is a token," the Emperor explained. "It binds you to my son. If he is ever in danger, it will call him to you. Use it wisely." Tom held the scale carefully, marveling at its warmth and glow. Ember chirped and nudged the scale, glowing brightly in response. Tom laughed quietly. "I guess we're officially connected, huh, Ember?" Ember chirped happily, twining its small tail around Tom's wrist. The Emperor glanced around the city, then back at Tom. "Know this, human. You are part of a story larger than yourself. Your actions, small as they seemed, have shaped the life of my heir. You are a hero, though you may not see it." Tom felt a swell of pride and humility. He had never thought that a simple act, feeding a starving hatchling, could have such consequences. With a final glance at Ember and Tom, the Emperor turned and walked back toward the ship. The craft lifted silently, disappearing into the night sky as quickly as it had arrived. The city returned to quiet, but Tom felt a new energy within him. Ember chirped softly, climbing onto his shoulder. Tom smiled, patting the small dragon. "Looks like our lives just got a lot more interesting," he said. Ember chirped again, nuzzling his cheek. Tom realized that life would never be the same. He had saved a dragon hatchling without knowing its importance, and now the universe itself seemed aware of his small act of kindness. He glanced at Ember, who looked up at him with golden eyes filled with trust and loyalty. Together they would face whatever came next, on Earth and maybe someday among the stars. For the first time, Tom understood that being a hero did not always mean fighting battles or wearing armor. Sometimes, it meant feeding a hungry creature, showing kindness, and trusting that even the smallest action could change the course of worlds. And as he sat there in the quiet McDonald's with Ember perched on the counter, Tom knew that extraordinary adventures awaited him, and he was ready. The next morning the city seemed quieter than usual. Tom woke early, still holding the glowing dragon scale the Emperor had given him. Ember was curled on the counter, stretching its tiny wings and blinking sleepily. The bond between them felt stronger than ever. Tom gently picked Ember up and held him close. "Good morning, little one," he whispered. Ember chirped softly in reply, nuzzling his cheek. Even though the Emperor had returned to his empire among the stars, Tom knew their connection remained. The scale glimmered faintly, a reminder that Ember was never far away, no matter the distance. Tom felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. Caring for Ember was no longer just an act of kindness, it was a duty, a privilege, and an adventure all at once. Life at the McDonald's slowly returned to routine, but it was different now. Tom moved with a sense of purpose, knowing that every small action mattered. He fed Ember carefully, making sure the little dragon got enough to grow. Ember learned quickly, exploring the restaurant at night, studying the lights, the trays, and even the soda machines with playful curiosity. Each day, Tom watched in awe as Ember's abilities grew, but he also noticed how gentle the dragon remained. Ember never used his power recklessly, and he trusted Tom completely. Customers sometimes noticed odd things: a stray fry floating for a moment, a soft glow under the counter, or a cold breeze that seemed to follow Tom. They whispered and took videos, but Tom kept Ember hidden. He had learned that the world was not ready for a dragon, no matter how small. This secret made their bond even more special, a shared adventure between a human and a creature from the stars. Tom began to understand something important. Being a hero was not always about grand gestures. Sometimes it was quiet, feeding a small hatchling, protecting it, and believing in it. He realized that he had already done something extraordinary. By saving Ember, he had changed the life of a dragonair, and perhaps in time he would change more. One evening, Ember climbed onto the counter and let out a series of soft, happy chirps. Tom tilted his head. Ember was trying to show him something. The little dragon leapt gently and hovered in the air, spinning in small circles, then landed with a proud flap. Tom laughed. "You're getting stronger every day," he said. Ember chirped again, nudging the glowing scale toward Tom. It seemed as if Ember was saying, "We are ready for whatever comes next." Tom took a moment to look at Ember closely. The golden eyes sparkled with intelligence and affection. The little dragon had grown not just physically but emotionally. He trusted Tom completely and Tom trusted him. It was a partnership, a friendship, and a bond stronger than anything Tom had ever known. Days turned into weeks, and Tom began to explore ways to help Ember grow safely. He researched ancient myths, science, and even the stars above. Sometimes he would point at the sky and whisper, "One day you might fly among them, Ember. But for now, stay safe here with me." Ember chirped softly in response, curling up next to him like he understood every word. Then one quiet night, as Tom cleaned the floor behind the counter, the scale glimmered brighter than usual. Ember leapt into his arms, wings outstretched, and the tiny dragon's glow illuminated the entire restaurant. Tom realized that Ember was trying to tell him something. He held Ember close, feeling the warmth of the dragon's body and the energy of the scale. It was a reminder. Even far away, the Emperor and the galaxy knew of their bond. Tom understood that his life had changed forever. He was no longer just a janitor at a small McDonald's in the city. He was a guardian, a friend, and a protector of a being connected to a universe beyond imagination. And he was proud. He smiled down at Ember, who chirped happily and twined his tail around Tom's wrist. "We're ready for anything, aren't we?" he whispered. Ember chirped in agreement. In the weeks that followed, life became an adventure in quiet ways. Tom would finish his shifts, then spend the nights with Ember, teaching him words, playing games, and exploring the limits of the little dragon's abilities. Sometimes they would sit by the window looking up at the stars. Tom would tell stories about Earth, and Ember would chirp, seeming to imagine the distant worlds he had never seen. The world outside remained unaware of the extraordinary bond within the McDonald's walls. But Tom knew. He knew that even a small act of kindness, feeding a starving creature, could ripple across the stars and change the fate of a galaxy. And Ember knew too. Every chirp, every glow of his scales, was a reminder of trust, loyalty, and friendship. As Tom cleaned the restaurant one last time for the night, Ember perched on the counter, glowing faintly in the soft light. Tom patted his small friend's head. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" he said. Ember chirped, flapping his wings, and nudged the glowing scale. Tom smiled. "Yes, we have. And our journey isn't over. Not by a long shot." Outside, the city was quiet, but above the horizon, the stars shone brightly. Somewhere out there, the Dragon Emperor watched his son, proud of his survival and somehow proud of Tom too. In that small, quiet McDonald's, a janitor and a dragon hatchling had begun a story that would span worlds, showing that courage, kindness, and friendship could create heroes in the most unexpected ways. And so, in a world full of ordinary nights and quiet streets, Tom and Ember sat together, ready for whatever the future might bring, knowing that small acts could have the power to change the universe.